Welcome to Sleepy Travel Stories. Tonight, let me take you on a journey to a faraway place. Close your eyes, relax, and let the world drift away. As you continue deeper into the gardens, following signs that promise the Wisteria tunnels ahead, you begin to notice the subtle architecture of anticipation that has been built into this landscape. Each turn in the path reveals something beautiful: a moss-covered stone arrangement, a small waterfall cascading into a pool where koi move like living brushstrokes. But these sights feel like gentle preparation for something even more extraordinary, waiting just out of view. The sound of water grows stronger as you approach a wooden viewing platform overlooking a pond that mirrors the sky so perfectly. It creates a moment of delicious vertigo. You pause here, hands resting on the smooth handrail that countless other visitors have touched, and watch as dragonflies skim the water surface, their wings catching light like fragments of stained glass windows. From this vantage point, you can see how the gardens unfold in layered terraces that follow the natural hillside, each level revealing different aspects of the seasonal display. In the distance, you catch your first glimpse of something that makes your breath catch slightly: arching structures covered in cascading purple that seems too beautiful to be entirely real. The Wisteria tunnels await, their blooms hanging in heavy clusters that move gently in the breeze like nature's own wind chimes. The anticipation builds as you leave the viewing platform and continue along the path that winds towards those magical arches. Each step brings subtle changes in the garden around you. More wisteria vines beginning to appear along fences and walls, their leaves creating intricate patterns of light and shadow. The fragrance in the air grows richer, carrying hints of the floral abundance that lies ahead. You pass through a small grove where cherry trees stand sentinel, their season of blooming now past, but their presence adding to the sense that you are walking through a calendar of natural celebrations. The contrast between the delicate pink memory of spring's cherry blossoms and the approaching purple abundance of late spring's wisteria creates a poetic transition, as if the garden itself is telling the story of seasons flowing into one another. A small stone path branches off to your right, leading to a traditional tea house where visitors can pause for refreshment. Through its open doorways, you glimpse tatami mats and low tables where people sit in quiet conversation, their voices adding to the garden's symphony of peaceful sounds. The temptation to stop is strong, but the pull of the Wisteria tunnels ahead proves even stronger, drawing you forward with the promise of beauty beyond imagining. As you round the next curve in the path, the first tunnel comes into full view, and the sight stops you completely in your tracks, rising before you like something from a dream made manifest. The arched structure disappears into purple shadowed depths where sunlight filters through layers of hanging blooms. The tunnel seems to glow from within, lit by some combination of filtered daylight and the luminous quality of the flowers themselves. Other visitors stand at the tunnel's entrance as you do now, taking that moment of transition where you prepare to leave the ordinary world behind and step into something extraordinary. A young couple holds hands, As they approach the archway, their excitement palpable but hushed, as if they understand instinctively that this experience calls for reverence rather than exuberance. The wisteria blooms hang at varying lengths, creating a natural curtain that frames the tunnel's entrance. Some clusters reach nearly to the ground, swaying gently with each breath of wind, while others form a canopy overhead that transforms the pathway beneath into a cathedral of living color. The purple ranges from the palest lavender to deep violet, with some blooms showing hints of blue and others touched with white, creating a spectrum that shifts and changes as light moves through the petals. You take a deep breath, inhaling the sweet, intoxicating fragrance that seems to grow stronger with each step toward the tunnel's mouth. The scent carries notes of honey and vanilla, underscored by the green freshness of leaves and the earthy richness of well-tended soil. It's a fragrance that seems to work directly on some deep part of your brain, triggering responses of calm and wonder that bypass rational thought entirely. As you finally step forward to cross the threshold into the first tunnel, you feel the subtle shift in temperature and light that marks your passage from the open garden into this enclosed world of hanging blooms. The gravel beneath your feet continues its gentle crunch, but now the sound seems muffled and intimate, contained within the tunnel's natural walls. Above your head, the wisteria creates a living ceiling that filters the morning light into something softer and more mysterious. Purple shadows dance across your arms and face as gentle breezes move the blooms, creating an ever-changing pattern of light and color that feels almost hypnotic in its beauty. This is just the beginning of your journey through the tunnels, the first taste of the magic that awaits deeper in this purple shadowed world, where time seems to slow and wonder becomes the most natural response to beauty beyond measure. You take your first deliberate step forward, and immediately the world shifts around you in the most subtle yet profound way. The packed earth beneath your feet gives way to something softer, a carpet of fallen petals that have drifted down over countless seasons, creating a natural pathway that yields gently under your weight. Each footfall releases the faintest whisper of fragrance, as if the very ground is breathing lavender-scented sighs that rise to meet you. The sensation is unlike walking on ordinary earth. It's more like moving across a living cushion that has been years in the making, each fallen bloom adding its own small contribution to this purple-tinged foundation. The tunnel embraces you more completely now as you move deeper into its heart. What seemed like dappled light from the entrance has become something far more enchanting. A living ceiling of cascading blooms that creates its own weather system of gentle illumination. Thousands upon thousands of wisteria clusters hang at varying lengths, some brushing the top of your head with the lightest touch, others swaying just beyond reach, creating layers of depth that seem to extend infinitely upward. The longest clusters dance in the barely perceptible breeze, their movement so graceful it resembles underwater kelp forests swaying in slow ocean currents. Your eyes adjust to this new quality of light, and details begin to emerge that were invisible from the tunnel's mouth. The wooden framework supporting this magnificent display reveals itself to be far more intricate than you first realized. Ancient timber posts weathered to a silver-grey patina rise at regular intervals like the pillars of some forgotten cathedral. The wood bears the gentle scars of decades, tiny holes where insects once made their homes, smooth grooves worn by countless hands that have steadied themselves against these supports, and the subtle warping that speaks of summers and winters, rain and sun, all witnessed in patient silence. Between these pillars, a complex network of crossbeams and supports creates a geometric counterpoint to the organic chaos of the blooms. The contrast is mesmerizing. Rigid lines softened by cascading flowers, human engineering made beautiful by nature's wild artistry. You pause beside one of these weathered posts, letting your palm rest against its sun-warmed surface. The wood feels solid and reassuring, slightly rough with age, and surprisingly warm despite the filtered light. It's a texture that speaks of permanence and patience, of structures built to last and dreams given time to flourish. As you continue forward, the air itself seems to thicken with fragrance. It's not the overwhelming sweetness you might expect, but something far more complex and layered. The primary note is, indeed, floral, a clean, almost ethereal scent that seems to dance between violet and vanilla. But underneath lie deeper notes that ground the experience. There's the green smell of living wood and fresh leaves, the earthy aroma of the petal-strewn path beneath your feet, and something else entirely. The scent of time itself, that particular fragrance that exists only in places where seasons have cycled again and again, each one leaving its subtle signature in the air. You breathe deeply, allowing this aromatic symphony to fill your lungs completely. The intake of breath feels different here, somehow more satisfying, as if the air carries extra oxygen or some essential element that your body has been craving without knowing it. With each exhalation, you feel a gentle release of tension you didn't realize you were carrying, a letting go that starts in your chest and radiates outward to your shoulders, down your arms, settling into your fingers until even your hands feel more relaxed than they have in months. The sound environment of the tunnel reveals itself gradually as you attune to its subtle orchestra. There's the almost inaudible whisper of petals brushing against each other in the breeze, a sound so soft it's more felt than heard. Occasionally, a single bloom detaches from its cluster and drifts down past your vision, and if you listen carefully, you can hear the tiniest whisper as it settles onto the pathway, a sound like the gentlest sigh of contentment. Further ahead, the tunnel curves slightly to the left, and this bend adds an element of mystery to your journey. You cannot see the path's destination, cannot anticipate what variations in light and bloom density await around that gentle corner. This unknowing feels not anxious, but deliciously anticipatory, like approaching a gift that you know will bring joy, but whose exact nature remains a beautiful surprise. The curve also creates interesting plays of light, shadows that deepen and brighten in unexpected ways, areas where the blooms seem almost luminous against darker backgrounds. Your pace naturally slows as you move deeper into this purple sanctuary. There's no rushing here, no sense that you need to be anywhere other than exactly where you are in this moment. Time seems to operate by different rules under this canopy of flowers. Minutes might be hours or seconds. The distinction becomes meaningless when, surrounded by beauty this profound, your breathing settles into a rhythm that matches your unhurried steps. Inhale as your weight shifts forward. Exhale as your foot finds its place on the petal's soft ground. Each breath cycle carrying you deeper into this state of moving meditation. The temperature here feels perfectly calibrated for comfort, though it shifts in microclimates as you walk. Where the blooms hang thickest, the air feels slightly cooler, as if the flowers are creating their own gentle air conditioning. In the spaces between clusters, where more sunlight penetrates, warmth touches your skin with the tender attention of a caring friend. These subtle variations in temperature create an ever-changing sensation across your body, a gentle massage of warm and cool air that seems to ease tension from muscles you didn't know were tight. You notice that your peripheral vision has adapted to this new environment, picking up movement and color variations that would have escaped notice in the brighter world outside. A small brown bird flits between the upper reaches of the tunnel, its presence so perfectly suited to this environment that it seems less like a visitor and more like a resident caretaker of this floral cathedral. Its movements are quick but never startling, adding a dynamic element to the scene that feels completely harmonious with the gentle swaying of the blooms. The bird pauses on one of the crossbeams, and for a moment you share this space in perfect mutual acknowledgement, two beings appreciating the same extraordinary beauty from your different perspectives. There's something deeply satisfying about this brief connection, a reminder that you're not alone in finding this place magical. The bird tilts its head, seems to study you with bright, curious eyes, then continues on its way deeper into the tunnel, perhaps leading you forward by example. Your hands hanging naturally at your sides as you walk, occasionally brush against the lower hanging clusters. Each contact is a small celebration of texture. The individual flowers are smaller than you expected, but somehow this makes them more precious, like discovering that something beautiful is also delicate and rare. The petals feel like the finest silk, with a subtle firmness that speaks of healthy, living plants, rather than decorative replicas. When your fingers accidentally disturb a cluster, it releases a small shower of the most perfect petals, each one catching the filtered light as it spirals down to join its predecessors on the pathway. The realization comes gradually that you've entered a space that exists outside the normal flow of daily life. This isn't simply a garden path or tourist destination. It's a threshold between worlds, a place where the ordinary rules of time and attention are suspended in favor of something more fundamental. Here, under this living ceiling of purple dreams, your mind naturally releases its grip on the endless lists and concerns that typically occupy its attention. Instead, it settles into a state of pure presence, absorbing beauty without the need to analyze or categorize it. Each step forward deepens this sense of transition. You're not just walking through a tunnel of flowers, You're moving through layers of tranquility, each one more profound than the last. The purple light filtering through the blooms seems to wash away the harsh edges of worry and stress, replacing them with something softer and more forgiving. Your breathing continues its steady rhythm, and you notice that your heartbeat has synchronized with your pace, creating an internal harmony that mirrors the visual beauty surrounding you. The tunnel ahead continues to curve gently, revealing new configurations of light and bloom with each forward step, promising discoveries that will unfold at exactly the right pace for wonder to build naturally. You are no longer simply walking through a garden. You are being welcomed into a purple dream made manifest, where each breath, each heartbeat, each gentle footfall becomes part of a larger rhythm that speaks of peace and beauty and the profound satisfaction of finding yourself exactly where you belong. As you move deeper beneath this living cathedral, the canopy above transforms into something almost impossible to fully comprehend in a single glance. The wisteria clusters have grown denser here, creating layers upon layers of drooping blooms that hang at different heights, each strand finding its own perfect length as it reaches toward you. Some clusters brush the top of your head with the gentlest whisper of petals, while others dangle just at eye level, creating a soft veil of purple that parts naturally as you pass through. The air itself has changed, becoming cooler and more saturated with the sweet, honeyed fragrance of thousands of blossoms. Each breath feels almost textured, carrying not just scent, but the very essence of spring itself. A richness that seems to coat the inside of your lungs with something pure and revitalizing. The temperature here beneath the thickest part of the canopy is noticeably different from the sun-warmed path behind you, creating a microclimate of perfect coolness that feels like stepping into nature's own sanctuary. Above, the intricate architecture of branches and vines creates a complex geometric pattern against patches of sky that peek through like scattered pieces of pale blue silk. The branches themselves are gnarled and weathered, speaking of decades of patient growth, their bark a soft grey-brown that provides the perfect neutral backdrop for the explosion of colour they support. Some of these woody arms are as thick as your wrist, twisted into spirals by years of following the sun, while others are delicate as pencils, young growth reaching eagerly toward new spaces to fill. The sound environment has shifted as well in this denser section of the tunnel. Your footsteps seem more muffled now, absorbed by the natural acoustic dampening of countless flower clusters and the soft earth below. There's a subtle echo here, but not the sharp reverberance of stone or metal. Rather, a gentle softening that makes even the smallest sounds feel cushioned and warm. The breeze, when it moves through this thick canopy, creates an entirely new symphony of whispers as it navigates between thousands of hanging strands, each cluster swaying with its own particular rhythm and creating a visual music of gentle motion. Occasionally, a single petal releases its hold and drifts downward, catching your attention as it spirals through the filtered air. You watch one such petal now, noting how it doesn't fall in a straight line, but dances on invisible air currents, tilting and turning as if reluctant to end its journey. When it finally comes to rest on your shoulder, you can feel its silk-soft texture through your clothing, a tiny blessing of purple that weighs almost nothing, yet somehow feels significant, like a small gift from the living ceiling above. The path beneath your feet has accumulated a soft carpet of fallen petals, creating a natural walkway of purple and white that gives slightly with each step. These petals haven't been here long enough to brown or decay. They're fresh, still holding their color and a hint of their moisture, so that walking on them produces the faintest rustling whisper, like moving through scattered silk scarves. The sensation is remarkable, adding a springiness to your step that makes walking feel less like locomotion and more like a gentle, continuous dance. As you continue forward, you notice how the light filtering through this dense canopy creates an almost underwater quality to the atmosphere. The sun's rays, broken into countless fragments by the overlapping clusters above, cast everything in a soft, purplish glow that seems to emanate from the flowers themselves. Shadow and light play together here in ways you've never experienced, creating pockets of deeper coolness followed by gentle pools of filtered brightness that warm your skin with a touch as soft as velvet. The varying heights of the hanging clusters create natural rooms within the tunnel, intimate spaces defined not by walls, but by the draping arrangement of blooms. You find yourself moving through these spaces with a heightened awareness of their unique character. Some feel cozy and enclosed, with flowers hanging close on all sides, while others open up into taller chambers where the clusters are suspended higher, giving you room to look up and marvel at the complex beauty overhead. In one such taller space, you pause to truly examine the individual flowers that make up each massive cluster. From a distance, they appeared as solid masses of color, but up close, you can see that each cluster is composed of hundreds of individual blossoms, each one perfectly formed with its own delicate structure. The flowers have a subtle gradient of color, some leaning more toward lavender, others deeper into purple, with occasional clusters that fade to almost white at their tips. The variation is subtle but noticeable, adding depth and complexity to what might otherwise be a simple wash of color. Your hand reaches out almost involuntarily to touch one of the lower hanging clusters, and the sensation is remarkable, softer than you imagined, with a slight coolness that speaks of morning dew still lingering in the depths of the blooms. The individual flowers yield gently to your touch, their petals having a texture somewhere between silk and the softest velvet. As your fingers brush against them, you detect the faintest release of fragrance, as if the flowers are sharing their essence more generously in response to your gentle attention. The experience of walking through this section feels increasingly dreamlike, as if you've stepped not just into a garden, but into some idealized version of springtime itself. The boundaries between yourself and the environment seem to soften here beneath the dense canopy, with petals occasionally brushing your hair, your shoulders, your arms, creating a constant gentle connection between your body and the living tunnel that surrounds you. It's impossible to move through this space without being touched by it, without becoming, in some small way, part of the scene yourself. The air currents here are subtle but constant, stirring the hanging clusters into slow, hypnotic motion. You find your own pace, naturally synchronizing with this gentle movement, your walking rhythm somehow aligning with the sway of the blossoms overhead. It creates a sensation of being carried along, not just by your own steps, but by the greater rhythm of the place itself, as if the tunnel has its own breathing pattern, and you've learned to breathe along with it. The fragrance in this denser section has layers you're only now beginning to detect. Beyond the primary sweetness of the wisteria blossoms, there are undertones of green growing things, the fresh scent of leaves and stems, and something deeper, the rich smell of earth and roots, and the fundamental processes of growth happening invisibly all around you. It's a complex perfume that changes subtly as you move, some areas emphasizing the floral sweetness, others bringing forward the greener, earthier notes. Ahead, you can see that the tunnel continues to curve, disappearing around a gentle bend where the canopy seems to become even more lush, if such a thing is possible. The promise of that continuation draws you forward with the same gentle magnetism you've felt since entering this extraordinary place. Each step reveals new details, new combinations of light and shadow, new arrangements of the cascading blooms that never quite repeat themselves despite their fundamental similarity. The sound of your breathing seems more noticeable here in the enclosed space, but rather than feeling confined, it adds to the sense of intimacy and peace. Your breath mingles with the fragrant air, becomes part of the gentle circulation of scents and moisture that gives this place its living quality. You're aware of your heartbeat too, steady and calm, finding its own harmony with the subtle rhythms of wind and motion that animate the hanging gardens above and around you. As you prepare to continue toward that intriguing bend ahead, you take one more moment to fully absorb this particular section of the journey, knowing that while the tunnel continues, this exact combination of light and fragrance and gentle motion exists only here, only now, in this perfect pause between wherever you've come from and wherever this remarkable path is leading you next. That quiet recognition settles into your awareness as you finally begin to move forward again, your feet finding their rhythm on the stone pathway that curves gently ahead. The morning has been progressing while you paused, and now you notice how the quality of light filtering through the wisteria has shifted into something altogether more luminous. Where earlier the sun cast horizontal beams through gaps in the canopy, now it reaches down from a higher angle, transforming the countless violet clusters into living prisms that scatter soft color across every surface. The bend in the tunnel reveals itself gradually as you walk, not as a sharp corner, but as a graceful arc that draws your eye deeper into the passage. With each step, new arrangements of hanging blooms come into view, and you realize that this section of the tunnel has been touched by morning light in a way that makes it distinctly different from where you've been. Here, the wisteria seems more abundant, the clusters longer and fuller, some of them hanging so low that you occasionally need to duck slightly or step to one side to avoid brushing against their delicate tips. As you move through this new stretch of tunnel, the interplay between light and petals creates an ever-changing display above and around you. Sunbeams catch individual flowers within the cascading clusters, making some blooms appear almost translucent, while casting others into deeper shades of purple and violet. The effect is like walking through a constantly shifting kaleidoscope, where each small movement of your head or change in your position reveals new patterns of illumination, dancing through the floral canopy overhead. The fragrance here has a different character too, warmer and more concentrated as the morning sun draws oils from the countless blossoms. It's not overwhelming but rather enveloping, a scent that seems to rise from below as well as drift down from above, as if the stone pathway itself has absorbed years of fallen petals and now releases their essence back into the air with each footstep. You find yourself breathing more deeply, not consciously, but naturally, as your body responds to this richly perfumed atmosphere. A gentle breeze moves through this section of the tunnel, and you watch as it sets the hanging clusters into a synchronized dance. The motion is mesmerizing in its complexity. Some clusters sway in wide, slow arcs, while others twist gently on their stems, and still others barely move at all, creating a layered choreography that shifts and flows without ever repeating the same pattern twice. The sound is different here too, a softer rustling as the fuller blooms brush against each other and occasionally graze the rough bark of the ancient supporting beams. Your pace naturally slows as you become absorbed in watching how individual rays of sunlight move across the tunnel as clouds pass overhead. When a cloud temporarily dims the light, the purple blooms appear deeper and more saturated, the tunnel taking on an intimate, enclosed feeling. Then, as the cloud passes and bright sunlight returns, the entire space seems to expand and lift, the violet petals catching and reflecting light until the air itself seems tinted with the faintest suggestion of color. You notice that the stone beneath your feet shows evidence of countless morning light displays like this one. Certain areas of the pathway appear slightly smoother, worn not just by footsteps, but by the daily ritual of petals falling, being scattered by wind, and eventually becoming part of the path itself. There's something deeply satisfying about this realization, that you're walking through a space that has been shaped not only by human hands and growing vines, but by the quiet, persistent presence of morning light and falling flowers. A particularly magnificent cluster of wisteria hangs just ahead, its blooms so numerous and full that they create an almost solid curtain of violet across a portion of the tunnel. As you approach, you can see how the morning light filters through the mass of petals, creating internal shadows and highlights that give the cluster dimension and depth. Some blooms face toward the light, while others turn away, creating subtle variations in color that range from pale lavender to deep purple, all within the same cascade of flowers. Passing beneath this natural curtain, you feel the slightest brush of petals against the top of your head, a touch so gentle, it's more sensation than contact. A few loose petals drift down as you disturb the cluster's stillness, and you pause to watch them fall. They don't drop straight down, but rather dance on invisible air currents, spiraling and floating in ways that seem to defy their tiny weight, taking much longer to reach the ground than physics would seem to allow. The tunnel continues its gentle curve ahead, and from here you can see that the morning light creates distinct zones within the passage. Areas where the canopy is thicker remain in cool, green-tinted shade, while gaps between the vines allow shafts of golden sunlight to penetrate all the way to the pathway below. Walking through these alternating zones creates a rhythm of warmth and coolness across your skin, a subtle temperature variation that adds another layer to the sensory experience of moving through this remarkable space. You become aware of small sounds that the fuller morning light seems to have awakened. Somewhere in the dense foliage above, a single bird calls with a sweet liquid note that echoes briefly within the tunnel before fading. There's also the very faint buzz of insects, though you can't see them, likely bees or other pollinators drawn to the abundant blooms overhead. These sounds don't intrude on the peaceful atmosphere, but rather enhance it, adding life and movement to what might otherwise be too perfect, too still. As you continue walking, you notice how your shadow moves alongside you on the stone pathway, sometimes sharp and distinct when you pass through direct sunlight, sometimes diffused and multiple when filtered light creates softer edges. Occasionally, the shadows of the hanging wisteria clusters fall across your own shadow, creating intricate patterns that shift and change as the flowers move gently in the breeze above. A section of the tunnel ahead draws your attention because the morning light there has found a particularly clear path through the canopy. The illumination creates what appears to be a natural spotlight on the pathway, a circular pool of warm golden light surrounded by the cooler, purple-tinted shade cast by the dense wisteria above. As you approach this bright patch, you can feel its warmth reaching towards you, and when you finally step into it, the sensation is like being briefly embraced by the morning itself. Standing in this pool of sunlight, you look up to see the opening in the canopy that allows it to exist. Perhaps it's the way certain fragrances can transport us instantly to feelings and sensations we had almost forgotten. The anticipation of childhood springs, the promise that winter always gives way to renewal, the simple joy of breathing deeply in a garden where everything is coming alive after months of dormancy. You find yourself walking even more slowly now, not from fatigue, but from a desire to fully experience this aromatic gift that surrounds you. Each breath becomes a small meditation, drawing the sweet complexity of the wisteria deep into your lungs, feeling how the scent seems to expand not just through your respiratory system, but somehow through your entire being, carrying with it a sense of lightness that makes your steps feel effortless. The tunnel curves gently ahead, and as you follow this natural arc, you notice how the fragrance shifts and changes with the topography of the space. Where the wisteria grows more thickly overhead, the scent pools and intensifies, creating pockets of particularly rich aromatherapy. Where the vines thin out slightly, allowing more air circulation, the fragrance becomes more ethereal, more like a suggestion than a presence, drawing you forward with its subtle invitation. Behind you, the path you've traveled disappears around the curve, while ahead, new sections of this remarkable tunnel continue to reveal themselves, each one promising its own variation on the theme of spring's awakening. The fragrance serves as both anchor and guide, grounding you fully in this present moment, while simultaneously drawing you deeper into the experience that awaits with each forward step. As you continue along the path, you begin to notice how your other senses are responding to this olfactory richness. The purple of the blossoms seems somehow more vivid when experienced in combination with their scent, as if the fragrance adds another dimension to the visual beauty. The gentle sounds of the tunnel, the whisper of leaves in the breeze, the distant murmur of water somewhere beyond the vines, the soft compression of your footsteps on the ancient stones. All of these seem more melodious, more perfectly orchestrated when accompanied by the sweet perfume of spring. Even the texture of the air itself seems different here in this particularly fragrant section of the tunnel. Each breath feels silkier, more substantial somehow, as if the molecules of scent have given the atmosphere a presence you can almost feel against your skin. The temperature, too, seems affected by this aromatic intensity, not warmer or cooler exactly, but somehow more perfectly calibrated to your comfort, as if the fragrance itself has created its own microclimate of contentment. You pause again, this time beside a section where younger vines interweave with the older growth, creating a tapestry of different stages of flowering. Here, the newest buds are just beginning to open, their scent carrying a sharper, more crystalline quality that cuts through the fuller fragrance of the mature blooms, like a high, clear note rising above a chorus. These younger flowers seem to embody the very essence of potential, their fragrance speaking of all the beauty yet to unfold as the season progresses. The interplay between these different stages of bloom creates a complex aromatic landscape that changes subtly with each slight shift in your position. Step a little to the left, and the mature blossoms dominate, offering their full, rounded sweetness. Move slightly right, and the younger buds assert themselves, adding their bright, sharp counterpoint to the olfactory symphony. Stand perfectly still in the center of the path, and all these different notes blend into something entirely new, something that could only exist in this exact spot, at this precise moment, in the flowering cycle. This realization brings with it a profound sense of being present at exactly the right time. Not too early in the season, when the buds would still be tightly closed and the fragrance only a promise, and not too late, when the petals would have begun to fade and drop. Instead, you find yourself here at the perfect moment when spring's awakening reaches its peak expression, when every element of this natural perfumery has achieved its ideal balance. The thought occurs to you that this fragrance is, in many ways, the true signature of this place. Long after you leave this tunnel, long after the visual memories have softened at the edges, this scent will remain vivid in your recollection. Years from now, if you happen upon a similar fragrance, perhaps in a garden or drifting from an open window on a spring evening, you will be transported instantly back to this moment, this path, this perfect convergence of time and place and natural beauty. As you resume walking, you find that the fragrance has become a kind of guide, leading you not just forward along the physical path, but deeper into a state of appreciation that encompasses far more than the immediate sensory experience. Each breath seems to open new chambers of awareness, new appreciation for the intricate systems of growth and bloom that have collaborated to create this moment of perfection. The ancient vines that support. These flowers have been decades in their growing, slowly twining their way up and over the tunnel's framework, gradually creating the living architecture that now shelters your journey. The roots, invisible beneath the earth, have spent countless seasons drawing nutrients from the soil, converting sunshine and water and minerals into the energy required to produce this lavish display of bloom and fragrance. Even the timing of your visit seems part of some larger orchestration, as if all the variables, the weather patterns that encourage this year's particularly abundant flowering, the seasonal rhythms that brought the blossoms to peak fragrance just now, your own choices and circumstances that led you to walk this path on this particular day have aligned to create this irreplaceable moment of sensory and spiritual nourishment. The fragrance continues to evolve as you progress through this section of the tunnel, sometimes intensifying as you pass beneath, particularly dense clusters of blooms, sometimes softening as the path winds through areas where the vines grow less thickly. But it never disappears entirely, maintaining a constant aromatic presence that has become as much a part of your experience as the visual beauty or the peaceful sounds of this sheltered walkway. With each step forward, you carry not just the memory of this remarkable scent, but something deeper, a renewed appreciation for the subtle gifts that await when we slow down enough to notice them, when we allow ourselves to be fully present in moments when the natural world offers up its most generous expressions of beauty and renewal. This growing sense of mindful awareness guides your steps as the main tunnel ahead begins to reveal something unexpected. Narrow openings in the wisteria canopy that you hadn't noticed before, small gaps between the cascading blooms that seem to beckon toward hidden possibilities. These aren't the grand archways you've been walking through, but rather intimate passages, almost secretive in their discretion, each one framed by curtains of purple flowers that part just enough to suggest mysteries lying beyond. The late afternoon light filters through these openings differently, creating pockets of golden illumination that dance across weathered stone steps and moss-covered pathways that wind away from the main route into quieter, more secluded spaces. Your curiosity naturally draws you toward the nearest of these hidden entrances, where a narrow path of ancient stones disappears around a gentle curve, bordered by wild plantings that seem to have been arranged by some invisible gardener who understood the art of making cultivated spaces feel utterly natural. As you step through this threshold, the sounds of the main walkway fade behind you, replaced by an even deeper quiet that seems to emanate from the earth itself. Here, in this tucked-away corner of the garden, the wisteria grows with wilder abandon, its vines climbing not just overhead, but weaving through bamboo fences and stone lanterns, creating intimate alcoves where time feels suspended in perpetual spring. The path beneath your feet changes texture as you move deeper into this hidden realm. The formal stepping stones giving way to a softer surface of packed earth, scattered with fallen petals that create a natural carpet of lavender and cream. Each footstep produces the most delicate rustling sound, like turning the pages of a very old, much-loved book. The air here carries different notes in its fragrance. The sweet perfume of wisteria, now mingled with the green scent of moss and the earthy richness of well-tended soil, creating an olfactory symphony that speaks of hidden springs and secret growth happening in the quiet darkness beneath the garden's surface. Small discoveries reveal themselves at every turn along this winding pathway. A miniature stone bridge, no longer than 2 of your steps, crosses over a shallow stream so clear you can count the smooth pebbles on its bottom. Water moves over these stones with the gentlest murmuring, a sound so soft it's barely audible, yet somehow perfectly audible in this hushed environment, adding its liquid voice to the subtle chorus of this secluded space. Ancient lanterns, green with age and partially hidden by trailing vines, mark occasional turns in the path. There, weathered surfaces telling stories of countless seasons, countless visitors who have discovered this same hidden route over decades or perhaps centuries. The pathway opens unexpectedly into a circular clearing where several of these secret routes converge, revealing a hidden garden that feels like discovering a room that somehow exists outside of ordinary architecture. Here, wisteria vines have grown into natural walls, their woody stems as thick as your arm, supporting cascades of blooms that create living boundaries around this intimate space. At the center sits a small stone basin, green with moss and filled with rainwater that reflects the purple canopy overhead like a mirror made of sky and flowers. The surface of this water is so still that individual petals floating there appear suspended in midair, creating the illusion that you're looking not down into water, but through a window into another dimension of this same peaceful moment. Curved stone benches emerge from the garden walls like natural formations, their surfaces worn smooth by weather and time, positioned perfectly for contemplating this hidden sanctuary from different angles. The temperature here feels several degrees cooler than the main pathway, as if the thick walls of vegetation create their own microclimate, a pocket of perpetual twilight, where the light filters through multiple layers of leaves and flowers before reaching the ground. This filtered illumination creates a dreamlike quality to everything you see, softening edges and deepening colors until the entire space feels painted in watercolors that haven't quite dried. You find yourself drawn to one of these weathered benches, settling onto its cool surface with a sense of having arrived somewhere that has been waiting specifically for this moment of discovery. From this vantage point, you can observe how multiple pathways radiate out from this central, garden-like spokes on a wheel, each one disappearing into its own tunnel of greenery and flowers, suggesting that this hidden realm extends far beyond what you can immediately see. The realization dawns quietly that you've discovered not just a secret garden, but an entire network of secret gardens, each one connected by these intimate pathways each one holding its own particular atmosphere and collection of quiet wonders. The sound environment in this sheltered clearing has its own distinct character. The gentle dripping of moisture from overhead vines creates an irregular percussion, sometimes a single drop hitting the stone basin with a tiny ring, sometimes several drops at once, creating a soft cascade of liquid notes. Occasionally, the whisper of wind through the upper branches brings a subtle shimmering to the canopy above, causing shifts in the light patterns that play across the moss-covered ground, like slowly moving shadows cast by clouds that exist only in this small, perfect world. Your attention is drawn to the intricate details that emerge when you allow your eyes to adjust fully to this softer light. The stone basin reveals itself to be carved with delicate patterns, worn almost smooth but still visible, spirals and waves that seem to echo the movement of water and wind, the natural forces that have shaped this garden over time. Small ferns have found purchase in the crevices where the stone benches meet the earth, their delicate fronds adding another texture to the rich tapestry of green that surrounds you on all sides. The wisteria blooms here seem different from those in the main tunnel, perhaps because they grow in this more protected environment, or perhaps because the filtered light reveals subtleties that stronger illumination might wash out. You notice variations in purple that range from the palest lavender to deep violet, sometimes within the same cluster of flowers. Some blooms catch what light manages to penetrate this leafy ceiling, seeming to glow with their own inner illumination, while others rest in gentle shadow, their colors deep and mysterious as twilight itself. Rising from the bench, you feel drawn to explore one of the other pathways that leads away from this central garden, choosing a route that curves to your left and seems to descend slightly, following the natural contours of the land. This path is even more intimate than the one that brought you here, barely wide enough for one person, with wisteria vines creating a tunnel so complete that you're walking through what feels like a living corridor. The temperature drops noticeably as you move along this pathway, and you become aware of the sound of moving water somewhere ahead, growing gradually stronger as you follow the gentle downward slope. The path emerges beside a larger stream than the small brook you crossed earlier, this one moving with more purpose and creating a more pronounced melody as it flows over and around larger stones and fallen branches. Here, the garden takes on a different character entirely, wilder, more natural, as if this is where the formal garden gradually gives way to the forest that surrounds it. Ancient trees, their trunks thick with moss, provide structure for the wisteria vines to climb toward a canopy so dense that only scattered coins of sunlight manage to reach the forest floor. The air carries the rich scent of decomposing leaves and the mineral freshness of flowing water, creating an atmosphere that feels both ancient and eternally renewable. A series of flat stones creates an informal crossing point over the stream, and you find yourself drawn to make this small journey, stepping carefully from stone to stone, while the water chatters busily around and beneath your feet. The sound is more animated here, more conversational than the gentle whispers you've grown accustomed to. And there's something energizing about this livelier water music that makes you feel more alert and present. From the middle of this stone crossing, you can look both upstream and downstream, watching how the water catches occasional flecks of light and carries them along in its current, each small sparkle appearing for just a moment before disappearing around the next bend or beneath the next overhanging branch. On the far side of the stream, yet another pathway beckons, this one leading upward through a grove where the wisteria vines have grown into enormous specimens, their trunks gnarled and twisted with age, some as thick as the ancient trees they've climbed. Here, the sense of time feels different, as if you've stepped into a place where decades or even centuries pass like seasons, where the patient work of growth and intertwining has created something that could never be built quickly or deliberately, only grown with the kind of patience that belongs to plants and stones and slowly flowing water. This ascending path winds between these magnificent old vines, each turn revealing new perspectives on their impressive scale and the intricate ways they've woven themselves through and around their supporting trees. Some of the woody stems spiral in perfect helixes around their hosts, creating living sculptures that demonstrate the subtle power of gradual, persistent growth. Others have formed natural bridges between trees, their thick vines spanning open spaces and creating overhead passages that add to the sense of walking through a three-dimensional maze designed by nature itself rather than any human plan. As you continue along this upward winding route, carrying with you the accumulated sensory memories of flowing water and ancient growth, of hidden clearings and secret crossings, you begin to sense that these pathways are leading you towards something, though what that destination might be remains as mysterious and inviting as each step that carries you deeper into this network of carefully hidden wonders. The sensation grows stronger with each carefully placed step, this feeling that the winding pathways have been guiding you with deliberate purpose towards something both ancient and meaningful. The cobblestones beneath your feet begin to change subtly, their surfaces worn smoother by countless generations of footsteps, and you notice that the gaps between them have been filled not with ordinary mortar, but with a dark, rich soil from which tiny emerald mosses have sprouted, creating natural cushioning that makes each step feel softer, more reverent somehow. The wisteria above you starts to thin just slightly, allowing filtered shafts of golden afternoon light to pierce through in places, illuminating the path ahead with a warmth that feels almost like gentle spotlights drawing your attention forward. In these pools of light, you can see dust motes dancing lazily in the air, and occasionally a single wisteria petal will drift down through one of these luminous columns, floating with such graceful slowness that you find yourself pausing to watch its entire journey from branch to ground. The sound of your footsteps begins to echo differently now, suggesting that you're approaching some kind of clearing or structure. The gentle reverberations bounce back to you with a hollow quality that speaks of open spaces and solid walls somewhere just ahead. Mixed with this acoustic change comes a new fragrance drifting on the air, the unmistakable scent of aged wood and something else, something both earthy and refined that you can't quite identify, but that fills you with a sense of approaching sanctuary. As you round a gentle curve in the path, the Wisteria tunnel opens, like curtains being drawn back to reveal the most enchanting discovery. There, nestled into a natural hollow in the hillside and surrounded by carefully tended gardens, sits a traditional Japanese tea house. Its weathered wooden walls have been darkened by decades of seasonal rains and mountain mist to a deep, lustrous brown that seems to absorb and hold the dappled light filtering through the canopy above. The structure appears to have grown from the earth itself, so perfectly does it blend with its surroundings. Its curved roofline, covered in traditional clay tiles that have softened from their original orange to a mellow rust color, follows the natural contours of the hillside behind it. Where the tiles meet the edges of the roof, you can see that small ferns and patches of moss have taken root, creating a living border that further integrates the building into the landscape around it. The tea house sits on a foundation of large, smooth river stones that have been fitted together with such precision that no mortar was needed. Between these stones, delicate flowering plants have found purchase, their tiny white and purple blooms creating a natural decorative border that shifts and changes with the seasons. A narrow stream, perhaps a continuation of the waters you heard earlier in your journey, curves around one side of the building, its gentle murmuring providing a constant, soothing soundtrack to this hidden retreat. What draws your attention most immediately is the wide veranda that wraps around the visible sides of the tea house, its polished wooden floor worn smooth by countless visitors over the generations. The veranda is supported by wooden posts that have weathered to the same rich brown as the walls, and between these posts hang bamboo screens that can be raised or lowered depending on the weather and the desires of those seeking shelter within. As you approach more closely, stepping from the cobblestone path onto a series of flat stepping stones that lead to the tea house entrance, you begin to notice the extraordinary attention to detail that has been lavished on this place. The gardens surrounding the structure are not wild despite their natural appearance, but rather represent the highest art of Japanese landscape design. Every rock, every plant, every curve of the pathways has been placed with intentional purpose, creating a harmony so complete that it feels like a physical manifestation of peace itself. To your left, a small grove of bamboo creates a natural screen, the tall green stalks swaying gently in the mountain breeze, with that distinctive hollow clicking sound that bamboo makes when the stems touch one another. The sound is rhythmic and hypnotic, like a natural wind chime that plays an ever-changing melody composed entirely of subtle percussion. To your right, a carefully maintained rock garden spreads out in flowing patterns, with larger stones serving as focal points around which smaller pebbles have been raked into concentric circles. The patterns in the raked stones seem to shift and flow as you move, creating an optical effect that suggests water frozen in time, or perhaps the memory of waves preserved in mineral form. The fragrance you detected earlier becomes stronger as you near the tea house itself, and now you can identify its components more clearly. There's the rich, deep scent of well-seasoned wood that has been polished with natural oils over many years. Beneath this lies the green, growing smell of carefully tended moss and the sweet earthiness of composted leaves. But threading through these foundational scents comes something more refined, the lingering aroma of countless tea ceremonies, a complex bouquet that speaks of green tea and roasted rice, of incense burned during meditation, and of the indefinable but unmistakable scent of a place where people have gathered for centuries to find peace and contemplation. The stepping stones beneath your feet are slightly warm from the afternoon sun, and as you place each foot carefully on their smooth surfaces, you can feel the day's accumulated heat radiating up through the soles of your feet. Each stone is a different size and shape, chosen not just for its practical function, but for its aesthetic contribution to the overall composition of the approach to the tea house. As you reach the edge of the veranda, you notice that someone has left a pair of traditional wooden sandals neatly arranged beside the steps, as if their owner has just stepped inside for a moment and will return shortly. The sandals are worn smooth from use, their wooden soles darkened by weather and time, and seeing them there gives you the distinct impression that this tea house is not merely a relic or museum piece, but a living space that continues to serve its original purpose. The wooden steps that lead up to the veranda are low and wide, designed to encourage slow, mindful movement rather than hurried climbing. As you place your foot on the first step, the wood gives slightly under your weight with a gentle creaking sound that speaks of flexibility rather than weakness. This is timber that has learned to bend with time and weather rather than resist them. The veranda itself stretches out before you like a wooden deck suspended between earth and sky. Its floorboards run parallel to the front of the building, and they've been worn so smooth by decades of bare feet and soft-soled shoes that they feel almost silky beneath your touch. Here and there, darker streaks in the wood grain create natural patterns that remind you of flowing water or wind-blown grass. Along the edge of the veranda, a low wooden railing provides both safety and a place to rest while contemplating the gardens beyond. The railing has been crafted from what appears to be a single piece of timber, its surface carved with subtle decorative elements, not ostentatious designs, but gentle curves and flowing lines that echo the natural forms found throughout the surrounding landscape. From this elevated position on the veranda, you can see that the tea house has been positioned with extraordinary thoughtfulness. The view from here encompasses not just the immediate gardens, but extends out through carefully planned sidelines to include distant glimpses of the Wisteria tunnel you've just emerged from, as well as other pathways and clearings that suggest this entire area is part of a larger, interconnected network of contemplative spaces. The entrance to the tea house itself consists of sliding panels made from wooden frames filled with translucent paper that glows softly in the afternoon light. Through this gentle illumination, you can make out the suggestion of shadows and forms within: low tables, floor cushions, and what might be scroll paintings hanging on the interior walls. The panels are slightly open, as if inviting you to step inside, and through this opening comes a subtle current of cooler air carrying the scents of tatami mats and the lingering traces of ceremonial incense. But for now, you find yourself content to remain on the veranda, settling onto one of the wooden benches that have been built into the railing structure. The bench is just the right height to allow your feet to touch the veranda floor comfortably while supporting your back against the railing behind you. The wood has been warmed by the sun filtering through the canopy above, creating a natural heating system that makes sitting here feel like being gently embraced by the tea house itself. As you settle more deeply into this peaceful seat, you become aware of the layered soundscape that surrounds the tea house. Most prominent is the gentle murmuring of the stream that flows nearby, its voice changing pitch and timbre as the water navigates around rocks and fallen branches. Occasionally, you can hear the soft splash of a fish jumping or the delicate sound of water dripping from moss-covered stones back into the main flow of the stream. Above this aquatic foundation, the bamboo grove continues its subtle percussion, the hollow stems creating their natural music as they sway and touch in the mountain breeze. Sometimes individual stalks will bend far enough to scrape against one another, producing a softer, more sustained note that harmonizes beautifully with the sharper clicking sounds of the lighter contacts. From somewhere in the distance comes the occasional call of mountain birds, not the harsh cries of urban species, but the pure melodic songs of creatures that have never known anything but this pristine environment. Their voices seem to be answering one another across the valleys and ridges, creating an aerial conversation that speaks of territory and companionship, of the eternal cycles of nesting and migration that connect this place to the wider rhythms of the natural world. These conversations of wings and wind seem to unlock something deeper in the garden around you, a layer of communication that exists just beneath the obvious beauty of the wisteria blooms. As you stand, perfectly still, letting your breathing slow to match the gentle rhythm of the place, you begin to notice that the entire tunnel is alive with quiet dialogue. The massive vines themselves creak softly as they adjust their weight along the wooden framework, each movement producing a barely audible groan that speaks of decades spent growing into this precise arrangement. It's the sound of living architecture, finding its balance, of nature and human intention, learning to speak the same language. A breeze moves through the tunnel from the mountainside, and you hear it approaching long before you feel it. First, as a distant rustle among the leaves higher up in the canopy, then as a wave of movement that travels the length of the structure, like a gentle hand stroking silk. When it finally reaches you, the air carries with it the complex perfume of the entire mountainside, the green scent of moss growing on ancient stone, the earthy richness of soil that has never known anything but forest, and underneath it all, the clean, almost metallic smell of mountain water running over granite somewhere in the distance. Your footsteps on the stone pathway create their own quiet percussion, each one sending tiny echoes up into the curved ceiling of blossoms above. But even these small sounds seem to be absorbed and softened by the living walls around you, transformed into something that belongs here. Rather than intruding upon the natural quiet, you notice how the echo changes depending on where you are. More resonant when you pass beneath the thickest clusters of blooms, more open and airy where the coverage thins to reveal patches of sky through the wooden lattice. As you pause to examine one of the massive vine trunks more closely, you discover an entire miniature ecosystem existing in the bark's deep furrows and ridges. Tiny moss gardens have established themselves in the protected crevices, their surfaces so fine and delicate they look like velvet in the filtered light. Small beetles with shells that gleam like polished copper move slowly through this microscopic landscape, their movements deliberate and unhurried, as if they too understand that this is a place for contemplation rather than haste. The wisteria flowers themselves seem to have their own vocabulary of sounds, the softest whisper when they brush against each other in the breeze, an almost inaudible tinkling when the occasional petal releases and drifts down to join the purple carpet at your feet. You realize that what you initially took for complete silence is actually a symphony of the gentlest possible sounds, each one so quiet that it requires your complete attention to perceive it. Moving deeper into the tunnel, you discover that different sections have developed their own distinct acoustic personalities. Here, where the vines have grown so densely that they form an almost solid canopy, your footsteps seem muffled and intimate, as if you're walking through a living room with walls that breathe. The mountain birds' calls become more distant, filtered through multiple layers of leaves and flowers until they sound like half-remembered melodies from dreams. But just ahead, where the framework opens up to accommodate an ancient pine tree that was clearly growing here long before the tunnel was built, the acoustics shift dramatically. Your breath seems to carry further, and the mountain sounds return with new clarity. Not just the birds now, but the subtle percussion of bamboo groves swaying somewhere up the hillside, their hollow stems knocking together in a rhythm that seems to pulse with the heartbeat of the mountain itself. The integration of this massive pine into the Wisteria tunnel tells its own story through sound. The tree's thick, plate-like bark creates small pockets and caves where different creatures have made their homes, and you can hear the tiny scratching of insects going about their daily work, the almost inaudible rustle of a small spider adjusting its web between two pieces of bark. Even the tree's breathing, that slow, ancient process of photosynthesis and growth, seems audible if you listen carefully enough, a presence so steady and deep that you feel it more than hear it. The stone path beneath your feet begins to tell you stories too, as you learn to interpret the subtle changes in sound your steps produce. Here, where water has run across the stones for countless seasons, they ring with a cleaner, more musical tone. There, where fallen leaves have collected in the joints between stones, your footfalls become softer, cushioned by the accumulated wisdom of many autumns. Each section of the path has been shaped by different forces: weather, foot traffic, the slow work of roots growing beneath the stones, and each responds to your presence with its own unique voice. You begin to understand that the garden is constantly in conversation with itself, and your presence has simply added one more voice to an ongoing discussion that has been continuing for decades. The sound of your clothes brushing against the occasional low-hanging cluster of flowers becomes part of the tunnel's acoustic landscape. Your breathing joins the larger rhythm of air moving through the space. Even your heartbeat seems to synchronize with some deeper pulse in the earth beneath your feet. As you pause to look back the way you came, you see how the tunnel curves gently, following the natural contours of the hillside rather than imposing a straight line upon the landscape. This gentle curvature means that sound travels in interesting ways. Conversations and footsteps from other parts of the tunnel reach you as the faintest whispers, so quiet and transformed by distance that they become indistinguishable from the wind moving through leaves. It creates a sense of companionship without intrusion. The awareness that others have found this same peace without any disruption of your own solitary communion with the place. The quality of light filtering through the wisteria canopy changes as clouds drift across the sun somewhere high above, and with each shift in illumination comes a corresponding change in the garden's voice. In the brighter moments, you can hear insects humming among the flowers, their activity increasing with the warmth. When clouds dim the light, a different quiet settles over everything, deeper, more introspective, as if the entire tunnel is taking a moment to pause and reflect. You notice that your own relationship with sound is changing as you move through this space. Where you might normally focus on destinations and goals, here you find yourself listening for the sake of listening, paying attention to sounds that serve no purpose except to exist beautifully in this moment. The distant splash of water over rocks somewhere in the mountain forest above becomes as important as any human conversation. The creak of an old wooden beam in the tunnel's framework carries as much meaning as any words. This is perhaps what the garden has been trying to teach you all along, that communication doesn't always require language, that the most important conversations often happen in silence, through presence and attention rather than words. The wisteria blooms don't need to announce their beauty. They simply exist in such fullness that they transform everything around them. The ancient pine doesn't proclaim its wisdom. It demonstrates it through the simple act of continuing to grow, season after season, reaching toward light while keeping its roots deep in the mountain soil. As you continue your slow journey through the tunnel, you realize that you've become part of this ongoing conversation. Your careful footsteps, your quiet breathing, your patient attention, these too are contributions to the garden's dialogue. You're not just an observer of this piece, you're a participant in it, adding your own note to the harmony that makes this place what it is. The mountain birds call again, their voices weaving together across the valleys, and this time you hear them not as distant sounds, but as part of the same conversation you've joined. Everything here speaks the same language, the language of presence, of patience, of finding profound meaning in the smallest moments. It's a language you're learning with each step, each breath, each moment of stillness beneath the purple canopy of this living cathedral. It's a language you're learning, With each step, each breath, each moment of stillness beneath the purple canopy of this living cathedral. As you continue forward, the earth path you've been following gradually gives way to something more deliberate beneath your feet. The first stone appears almost by accident, a smooth, rounded boulder, worn silver grey by centuries of weather, settled so naturally into the ground that it seems to have grown there like the ancient trees themselves. Your foot finds its surface instinctively, and you pause for just a moment to feel the solid coolness through your soul. The way this single stone seems to anchor you more deeply to this place. Then another stone reveals itself a stride ahead, and another beyond that, each one placed with the kind of thoughtful intention that speaks of hands that understood not just where feet would fall, but how the heart moves through sacred spaces. This isn't the rigid precision of modern construction, but something far more intuitive. A path that curves and meanders like water, finding its way down a mountainside, each stone positioned to honor the natural flow of the land itself. The stones are not uniform. Some are broad and flat, inviting you to pause and take in the view through breaks in the wisteria canopy. Others are smaller, creating a gentle rhythm of shorter steps that naturally slow your pace. A few are slightly raised, requiring the smallest lift of your foot, just enough to keep you mindful, present, aware of each placement. The surfaces vary too, some worn mirror smooth by generations of pilgrims, others retaining a subtle texture that provides perfect grip, even when morning mist settles like silk across their faces. You notice how the person who laid this path understood the conversation between human movement and natural landscape. The stones don't fight against the terrain, but work with every subtle rise and dip, every root that has claimed its space, every natural curve that the mountain dictates. Where a massive wisteria trunk has grown across what might have been a straighter route, the path simply flows around it, creating a graceful arc that somehow feels more beautiful than any direct line could have been. The wisteria responds to this stone pathway as if it too recognizes something sacred in this deliberate wandering. The ancient vines seem to lean in more closely here, creating an even more intimate tunnel overhead. Clusters of purple blooms hang lower, close enough that you can see the individual petals with perfect clarity, some still tightly furled in deep violet promise, others fully opened to reveal the subtle gradations of color within, from the palest lavender at the edges to rich purple hearts that seem to glow with their own inner light. The sound of your footsteps changes completely on the stone path. Gone is the soft compression of earth, replaced by something more musical, a gentle tap that varies with each stone's unique density and shape. Some produce a clear bell-like note when your foot connects. Others offer a deeper, more resonant sound that seems to vibrate up through your bones. The variation creates an unconscious rhythm, a natural percussion that harmonizes with the mountain's own subtle music. The whisper of wind through wisteria leaves, the distant murmur of a hidden stream, the periodic call and response of birds deep in the canopy above. As the path curves to the right, following the mountain's natural contours, you catch your first glimpse of what lies ahead through a gap in the purple curtain. The stone pathway continues its meandering journey, disappearing and reappearing through the tunnel of blooms, like a grey ribbon threaded through nature's own elaborate embroidery. In the distance, perhaps 100 yards ahead, you can see where the path makes a more dramatic turn, guided by what appears to be a particularly ancient wisteria, whose trunk has grown to the impressive girth of centuries. The temperature here feels different too. The stones seem to hold and release the mountain's coolness in a way that the earth path didn't, creating subtle variations in the air around your ankles and legs. Some stones, touched by filtered sunlight through gaps in the wisteria canopy, radiate gentle warmth. Others, sheltered in deeper shade, maintain the crisp coolness of early morning, creating tiny microclimates that your body registers with each step. You begin to notice the spaces between the stones as much as the stones themselves. Here, the original mountain earth has been worn into shallow channels by countless seasons of rain, creating natural gutters that guide water away from the walking surface. Moss has claimed many of these in-between spaces, forming cushions of emerald velvet that seem to glow with their own soft radiance in the dappled light. Occasionally, a single wildflower has found purchase in these gaps, a tiny splash of yellow or white that catches your eye like a small gift hidden along the way. The winding nature of the path means you're constantly discovering new perspectives, new framings of beauty. Each curve reveals another composition, perhaps a particularly graceful draping of wisteria blooms, or the way morning light filters through the canopy to illuminate a cluster of stones ahead, or the glimpse of mountain landscape beyond, where the tunnel briefly opens. It's like walking through a slowly unfolding scroll painting, each step revealing the next brushstroke in an endless masterpiece. Your pace has naturally adjusted to something even more meditative than before. The stones seem to encourage a particular rhythm, not slow exactly, but deeply considered. Each step becomes a small meditation, a moment of connection between your body and this carefully crafted pathway that has guided so many others before you. You can almost feel the echo of all those previous journeys, the accumulated intention of everyone who has walked this same route with their own hopes, contemplations, and quiet reverence. The path curves left now, following what must be a natural ridge in the mountainside. As you round this bend, the character of the wisteria tunnel shifts subtly. The vines here are even older, their trunks more massive, their overhead canopy more densely woven. The purple blooms hang in longer cascades, some reaching almost to shoulder height, creating a more enclosed feeling, more intimate and protected. The filtered light takes on an even softer quality, tinged with purple from its passage through countless petals. A butterfly appears, just one, a small white creature that seems to materialize from the purple shadows ahead. It dances from bloom to bloom with that peculiar weightless grace that butterflies possess, occasionally settling long enough for you to notice the delicate black markings on its wings, the way its antennae move in constant subtle exploration of this fragrant world. You watch it work its way through a particularly heavy cluster of blossoms, and somehow its presence makes the entire scene feel even more alive. more connected to the greater web of life that thrives in this protected space. The stone path continues its patient wandering, and you continue with it, each step deeper into this living meditation, each curve in the ancient route revealing new wonders while drawing you further into the profound peace that seems to permeate every element of this extraordinary place. As you follow another gentle curve, you notice how the pathway has been designed to create natural stopping points, places where a slightly larger stone platform coincides with a particularly spectacular view or a break in the canopy that frames the distant mountains. These aren't accidents, but conscious invitations, moments where the pathmakers understood that the human spirit might need to pause, to breathe, to fully absorb the beauty surrounding it. You find yourself accepting one of these invitations, stepping onto a broad, flat stone that feels warm from captured sunlight. From this vantage point, you can see both where you've come from and where the path leads next, curving away into purple mystery. The view encompasses not just the immediate tunnel of Wisteria, but hints of the broader landscape. Forested slopes rising beyond, the suggestion of distant peaks, the endless patience of mountains that have watched over this place since long before the first wisteria vine took root. The mountains stand in layered silhouettes against a sky that has begun its slow transformation, each ridge darker than the one behind it, creating a sense of infinite depth. You settle more comfortably on the warm stone beneath you, feeling how it has absorbed the day's heat like a patient companion holding onto sunlight for just a little longer. The wisteria clusters around you seem to respond to the changing light, their purple depths becoming richer, more mysterious, as if each bloom holds its own small sunset within its petals. As you breathe in the evening air, you notice how different it tastes now. Cooler, somehow cleaner, carrying new scents that weren't present in the full heat of day. There's the green smell of leaves beginning their nightly rest, the faint earthiness of dew preparing to form, and something else, perhaps the distant fragrance of evening primroses opening somewhere beyond the wisteria tunnel, adding their own quiet perfume to the symphony of scents. The first hint of color change appears at the horizon's edge, where the sky lightens to pale amber. It's subtle at first, like watercolor paint bleeding into wet paper, but you can sense the promise of what's coming. The wisteria around you seems to anticipate it too, the way the clusters hang perfectly still, as if they're holding their breath. Even the occasional bee that drifts past moves more slowly, drowsily, as if affected by the same peaceful lethargy that comes with day's end. From your elevated position on the stone, you can see how the wisteria tunnel extends in both directions, creating natural frames for the developing sunset. Looking back the way you came, the flowers form an archway that perfectly captures a section of the transforming sky. Looking forward, another natural window opens between the hanging clusters, offering a different view of the same magnificent display. It's as if you're sitting in a living observatory, surrounded by nature's own carefully crafted viewing chambers. The amber at the horizon deepens, spreading upward like honey poured through silk, Where this golden light touches the wisteria blossoms, something magical begins to happen. The purple flowers don't simply reflect the sunset. They seem to absorb it, transforming it, adding their own violet essence to create colors that have no names. Some clusters appear almost rose-colored in this light. Others take on the deep richness of amethyst touched by flame. The interplay between the warm sunset hues and cool flower tones creates an ever-shifting display that changes each time you move your head slightly or blink your eyes. The stone beneath you seems to respond to the changing light as well. What felt warmly beige in the afternoon sun now appears touched with gold, its rough texture creating tiny shadows that dance as the light shifts. You run your palm across its surface, feeling how the day's heat still radiates upward, a gentle warmth that contrasts beautifully with the cooling air around you. Your fingers trace the subtle variations in the stone's surface, smooth patches worn by countless seasons of rain and sun, slightly rougher areas where minerals create tiny crystalline textures that catch the light. A gentle breeze stirs through the tunnel, and the hanging wisteria clusters begin to sway in the most hypnotic rhythm. The movement is slow, dreamy, like underwater plants responding to invisible currents. As they move, the light filtering through them creates shifting patterns on the path below. Patches of golden illumination that appear and disappear, dance and merge, creating a constantly changing carpet of light and shadow. You watch these patterns flow like slow water, never the same twice, always beautiful. The sky continues its transformation, the amber deepening to rich gold, then beginning to blush with the faintest hint of coral. This new warmth in the light brings out different qualities in everything around you. The wooden supports of the tunnel, barely visible through the thick wisteria growth, take on a warm honey tone. The leaves interspersed among the flowers seem to glow from within, their green now touched with gold around the edges. Even your own skin feels different in this light, warmer, somehow more alive, as if the sunset is awakening something peaceful and content within you. You become aware of the subtle sounds that accompany this time of day. The daytime insects have grown quiet, replaced by the softer evening chorus. Somewhere in the distance, a temple bell rings once, its deep tone carrying across the landscape and seeming to hang in the air long after the sound itself has faded. The bell's resonance seems to settle into your chest, creating a feeling of deep calm that spreads outward from your heart to your fingertips and toes. The coral in the sky intensifies, spreading like a gentle blush across the heavens. Through the wisteria veils, you can see this color reflected and refracted, creating the most extraordinary light show. Some flowers seem to capture and hold the coral tone, glowing like soft lanterns. Others filter it into something entirely new, a purple pink that exists nowhere else in nature except in this perfect moment, in this exact combination of sunset and flower, light and shadow. As you shift slightly on your stone seat, you notice how the perspective changes everything. Lean a little to the left, and you see the sunset framed by a dense curtain of blooms that creates an almost cave-like feeling of enclosure. Lean to the right, and the view opens up to show more sky, more of the developing color show. Each position offers its own unique composition, its own perfect balance of flower and light, near and far, intimate detail and expansive view. The air around you continues to cool, and you feel it on your skin like silk. The world has grown very quiet now. Even the stream seems to whisper more softly, as if aware that this is a time for deep peace, for letting go, for allowing the day to drift away like mist in morning sun. The wisteria blooms barely move now, hanging like purple dreams in the still air. The stone beneath you holds its warmth steady and sure. Your thoughts begin to drift, gentle, scattered, like petals on a soft breeze. Nothing urgent remains. Nothing needs your attention. Only this moment, this perfect rest, this garden holding you so tenderly in its quiet embrace. The stars grow brighter, or perhaps your eyes are growing heavier. It doesn't matter. Everything fades to softness now. The purple blooms, the warm stone, the whisper of wind, all of it flowing together into one gentle dream, one perfect peace, where you can rest and rest and rest in nature's loving arms, surrounded by beauty, held by ancient calm, drifting softly into the deepest, most peaceful sleep. The wisteria tunnel keeps its gentle watch as you rest and dream, and let the garden's peace carry you away on wings of purple blossoms into perfect, quiet rest. And all is well, all is peaceful, all is gentle dreams. Thank you for traveling with Sleepy Travel Stories. May your dreams take you to beautiful places tonight. Sleep well, and we'll see you on the next journey.